Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read S66066 Nelson Mandela, Chapter 9, The New South Africa. Mandela had made his walk to freedom, but there were other journeys ahead of him. We haven't taken the final step of our journey, he wrote, but the first step on a longer and even more difficult road. As President of South Africa, Mandela had many journeys, often difficult ones, to make. New government showed Mandela's view of a new South Africa where all groups of the nation had a part to play, black and white South Africans, Indians, colored, communists, and other political groups. It was a new kind of government, which no other nation in the world had tried. Cathedra and Jenny, Melinda Mandela's old friend from Robben Island, were elected to the new parliament. Among the new ministers were Chief Buthelezi, Minister of Home Affairs, and Joslova, Minister of Housing. Maharaji, a prisoner for many years on Robben Island with Mandela, became Minister of Transport. Abdullah Umar, one of the lawyers who had visited the political prisoners on Robben Island, became Minister of Justice. The Fikeld Bam became Judge President of the Land Claims Court in 1995. The members of Mandela's government had an extremely difficult job ahead of them to change the system of government without driving businesses out of the country. People of all nations wanted Mandela to come and visit them, and he traveled to many countries to meet governments and businesses. He used his visit to talk to businesses and ask them to work with the new government in South Africa. In 1995, for example, he traveled to India, Japan, Russia, China, France, New Zealand, and the United States. Mandela also worked for peace in Africa and traveled to Tanzania, Lesotho, Botswana, Uganda, Libya, Mozambique. Jesse Duarte, Mandela's secretary, while he was president, traveled with him and noticed that he was always surprised that people knew him. Sometimes she was frightened by the large crowds surrounding him. It was also difficult, she said, because he could never take a private walk anywhere. Mandela solved the problem by getting up early in the morning, taking a long walk at 5 a.m. As the new government got to work, South Africa began to experience less violence. Mandela wanted to recognize the history of the different peoples of South Africa and to lead them to a peaceful life together. It was not long before Mandela was loved by many South Africans because of his dignity and the love he showed to all people. Most of the time, Mandela refused to wear suits. Instead, he preferred to wear bright shirts, which became known in South Africa as Madiba shirts. I want to be comfortable, he said. I want to dress like a man who is living in Africa because that's where I live. In 1990, South Africa needed about 1.3 million new homes. But in the year 1992, only 50,000 homes were built. The new government arranged money for houses for the poorest people. But this only happened slowly. The ANC government planned to build 1 million new houses in 5 years, to bring clean water no more than 200 meters from each home, and to bring electricity to all schools and hospitals within 2 years. During 1994, government brought electricity to 250,000 homes. By 1995, more than 7,000 MK members had joined the South African Army. The government also gave all South Africans the right to own land and planned to return land to those who had lost it because of the apartheid laws. The government wanted the people of South Africa to be able to talk to each other about their suffering under the apartheid system. In 1995, Archbishop Desmond Tutu was chosen by Mandela to look into the crimes of apartheid. For 2 years, Archbishop Tutu and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission heard more than 20,000 people talk about torture by the police and about the terrible things that had happened during the years of apartheid. For example, police officers told the commission how they beat Steve Biko before his death in 1977. Apartheid officials told the commission that the Botha had agreed to the bomb which exploded at the central office of the South African churches in 1988. F.W. de Klerk was one of the few political leaders who came forward to talk about what happened while he was president. He appeared before the commission in August 1996 and he apologized for the pain and suffering caused by the National Party, but he refused to answer questions about the bombs used against the black groups in the 1980s. Nelson Mandela started his children's fund in 1995 after he met children on the streets of Cape Town. He remembers, "We were driving back to the president's house in Cape Town one cold winter's evening when I saw a group of street children and stopped to talk to them. They asked me why I loved them." Mandela was surprised by this question, but the children said that they knew he loved them because every time he got money from abroad, he used some of it to help them. Mandela organized the Children's Fund to help children of South Africa, and he promised to give 1/3 of his own money to the fund. He began to ask everyone for money for the fund, and he used his visits abroad to organize the Children's Fund in London, New York, and Toronto. Between 1996 and 1998, 36 million rand, then worth about $6.5 million, was collected to help thousands of children. Mandela's love of sports continued while he was president. During most of the years of apartheid, South African teams were unable to play against other nations. But since 1994, sports has shown that it's strong enough to meet old wounds. When the Springboks won the Rugby World Cup in Johannesburg in 1995, Nelson Mandela put on the number 6 shirt of the team's captain, Francois Pienaar, a white Afrikaner, and the two shook hands as Mandela gave Pienaar the cup. Later, Mandela said that this was one of the happiest moments of his life, when South Africa won something as a nation. Mandela said to the captain of the team, "Thank you very much for what you have done for South Africa." And Pienaar replied, "Thank you for what you have done." In one generous moment, 400 years of suffering and bitterness suddenly seemed to disappear. Football is the most popular sport in South Africa, and in 1992, the first international game for 30 years was played in South Africa. National football team, Bafana the Boys, won the African Cup of Nations in 1996. And Mandela was in the crowd of 90,000 who watched the final game. He came on to the field when the team lifted the cup. In 1998, the Bafana played in the World Cup finals for the first time. And for 4 weeks in 2010, South Africa will be the center of the world, as teams from all over the world play for the football's World Cup. In 1997, Mandela began to give more and more political responsibility to Thabo Mbeki. Mbeki was the son of Govan Mbeki, who was in prison with Mandela on Robben Island. Thabo Mbeki joined the ANC when he was 14 years old. He escaped from South Africa in 1962. At the age of 19, he went to university in Britain and worked for the ANC in Britain, the Soviet Union, and Zambia. He returned to South Africa in 1990 and joined the ANC leaders who were negotiating with the apartheid government. Now, as deputy president, Mbeki was the second most important political leader after Mandela. The years of loneliness after Mandela separated from when he ended in 1998, when he married Graca Machel on his 80th birthday. He was married to Samora Machel, the president of Mozambique, until his death in a plane crash in 1986. President Machel had helped the ANC for many years, and Mandela secretly sent a message from prison to the Graca Machel after President Machel's death. He met her for the first time in 1990 when he visited Mozambique. In February 1999, Mandela spoke for the last time in Parliament. He listed the ways his government was helping to change the lives of many. Water